So I got a great question in our support group from one of our users that was talking about some digestive symptoms that seem to magnify when killing off bacteria in the stomach or the small intestine. So somebody doing something that would be beneficial, but then it seems to really magnify other symptoms that they didn't even expect it to magnify. So this can be an important topic to understand. Otherwise, a person might see some other symptom that they weren't even having and be like, oh, wow, that wasn't right for me. I shouldn't be doing that. And they might stop doing something that was really pushing them towards improving their situation. So this can be a complicated topic that I kind of wanted to go over some things to understand that'll guide you in the right direction. Let's jump into this one.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So I'll share this scenario from our user in our support group. But remember, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice, and I'm not giving advice to this person because I don't know their specific situation. I just kind of want to talk about some possibilities that can come about. And this individual felt like they were having some type of bacterial overgrowth. A lot of symptoms were indicating that. So they took some steps to reduce that overgrowth. And they used something that we use a lot, d-limonene, which is basically like an orange peel extract. And we have videos on how to use this. And I believe that she was also using mastic gum. And mastic gum, we have videos on how to use that too. It can be very effective at wiping out bacteria in the stomach or the small intestine. It seems to be more effective in the small intestine, where the d-limonene seems to be more effective at wiping out bacteria in the stomach. So a person can have a bacterial overgrowth in either of those locations and have that overgrowth creating a lot of digestive malfunctions and likely a lot of symptoms as well, like burping or bloating or acid reflux or constipation, or an inability to access nutrients in their food and kind of creating these nutrient deficiencies. So there's a lot that can go wrong when there's bacteria in the stomach, because the waste product that they put out, depending on the bacteria, can often be alkaline, and that will even neutralize the acids that a person might be making and reduce their ability to actually acidify their food and break it down so that they can get the nutrients out of that food. So having a bacterial overgrowth in the stomach is not what we want. It shouldn't be there in the stomach. And we shouldn't have an overgrowth in the small intestine either. It's okay to have some bacteria in either location. You just don't want an overgrowth. The majority of our good bacteria should be in the large intestine. So this individual took some steps to wipe out that overgrowth. And, beyond the die-off type symptoms that a person can have when they're killing off bacteria, we kind of want to look at what are some other possible symptoms or issues that could come up. Because when we kill off bacteria, basically, bacteria or any living organism is going to put off waste. And so if you have an overgrowth in your body, you have a bunch of little critters pooping in your body all day long. So that waste can accumulate, and it can cause toxicity issues, and it can create symptoms, and it can reduce your ability to digest your food if that waste product is alkaline. And they're kind of putting that off all the time. So having bacterial overgrowth in the body has the ability to create some symptoms. But when you kill them off, you're kind of basically, a lot of people feel like you're just kind of breaking them apart. And when you do that, all of the toxins, instead of coming out a little bit at a time as they release waste, all those toxins are coming out at once, all at once. And if you have millions of organisms in there, you're killing them all off at once. That's a lot of junk that could be coming off. So that can create a high level of toxicity that has the ability to create or magnify some symptoms like bloating or nausea or just feeling not so great, or reflux type things. So that has the ability to magnify some symptoms. So that's one aspect that we've talked about in other videos. But what happened with this individual was that she was using hydrochloric acid, betaine HCl, to help acidify her stomach. And she was dealing with some looser stool type issues, and that often comes from bile not flowing correctly and an inability to neutralize those acids. So she had been taking some steps to help thin the bile out, to improve that bile flow, and noticing that her stool was becoming a little bit more firm. Okay, so that's all great news. But then she used this d-limonene for a couple of doses over a few days' time. And then she was using 5 or 6 HCl and only getting loose stools, not like diarrhea. But after using d-limonene, she just took 2 HCl and then she got some diarrhea. So, why would that happen? So some things to think about is, again, when the body kills off a lot of things, you can have magnified symptoms, but the body might also be saying, I want to get this out of here. This is too much junk, so I'm going to rush this out the back door. And it'll bring all the water that it can to the bowels to kind of rush everything out. And that has the ability to create diarrhea or a loose stool type response. But another thing to think about is that if this bacteria was putting off all of this alkaline waste, and that alkaline waste is neutralizing whatever stomach acid you may be making along with the stomach acid that you may be supplementing with. So maybe she was using 5 or 6 capsules, but if there's enough alkaline waste in there, it could be neutralizing a lot of that HCl, and that 5 or 6 capsules may only been as effective as 1 or even none. So if it's getting neutralized, it doesn't work as well. But if you kill off a good layer of that bacteria, over a couple of days, that's going to start reducing the amount of that alkaline waste that they were putting off. Now there's not as much alkaline waste in there to neutralize any acids that she may be making, as well as what she may be supplementing with. So when you take just 2 HCl, now that could be acidifying the stomach much more effectively than 5 or 6 was before, with all the alkaline waste in there from bacteria that was neutralizing it. Does that make sense? So now 2 capsules is much more effective than 5 or 6 was, since the bacterial overgrowth is reduced. So maybe she just doesn't have enough bile to neutralize that increase of HCl in the stomach. Maybe before, when she was using a higher dose, but it was all being neutralized, she had enough bile to slow that down a little bit, so her loose stools seemed to be improving. But now that that bacteria waste and all that alkaline waste is gone or reduced, now the stomach is a lot more acidic, and maybe there's not enough bile to neutralize the acids that are leaving the stomach. So now that's going to create a loose stool, because now everything moving through is more on that acidic side. Those acids have not been neutralized properly, so the body doesn't want those acids digesting the intestinal tract, so it'll bring all the water that it can to cool those off and then rush it out the back door before those acids would damage the intestinal tract. So that's a common symptom that we see when someone might wipe out a lot of bacteria at once. Maybe they might see an increase in like acid reflux, or maybe they'll get acid reflux when they've never had that before, because there was so much alkaline waste in there neutralizing any stomach acid they were making or supplementing with, that they were having reflux. They just didn't know it because there was no acid to come back up and burn them. So if a person increases acid a little bit, it's very common for them to see acid reflux symptoms either magnify or show up when they weren't there before. Because when there's a small amount of acid, it's going to come back up and burn them. Whereas when there's enough acid in the stomach, then it will trigger that LES valve at the bottom of the esophagus to close like it's supposed to, and the reflux and the acid doesn't come back up and burn us anymore. So those are some of the symptoms that you may see. Someone may see magnified bloating or nausea or cramping or discomfort as they're killing off these bacteria as well. And sometimes that can be part of the die-off. It can also be part of, well, now acid has increased a little bit, so there's more acid to mix with this alkaline waste. And when acid meets an alkaline substance, it kind of get that fizzy mess, like if you were mixing baking soda and vinegar together, like when we would make that stupid volcano in the 3rd grade. That's the kind of situation that you're creating as you're killing off some of this bacteria, but there's still enough there to cause trouble. Mixing more acid with that alkaline waste can sometimes magnify some of those symptoms or create new ones that a person may not have been dealing with. But you can see all of these situations that we just talked about were all things moving in the right direction. They were all these digestive malfunctions improving and correcting themselves by the steps that the person was taking. So it's important to kind of get an idea of what could be going on, so that if someone sees a magnification of symptoms, they don't say, oh, well, this isn't right for me. And then they go on for years and decades, jumping from remedy to remedy, trying to find something to work when nothing ever does, because improving some scenarios, especially a bacterial overgrowth, has the ability to create or magnify some symptoms while they're in the process. So for a lot of folks, if they just continue to reduce that overgrowth and then take steps to acidify the stomach more, everything will work correctly. They won't have those kind of symptoms. Of course, you need bile flowing better if you're going to increase acid. So a person that's getting diarrhea from increasing acid would probably have to decrease the amount of HCl they were supplementing with until they could take steps to improve that bile flow even more. And if you don't know how to do that, we'll put a link in the description below this video for our video on 5 steps to improve bile flow, and that'll give you some insights into what you can do there. So I hope that helps you figure out some scenarios and some symptoms that can come up when you're trying to improve digestive symptoms. It's common for this to happen because sometimes a person will improve one side of digestion faster than the other. If they improve the stomach acid side faster than the bile flow, then they're probably going to create some loose stool issues. Whereas if they created the bile flow improvement faster than they increased the stomach acid side, then that stool would now be more alkaline, which means that it would move through the system slower, and they might create some constipation issues or something like that and think, oh man, what is going on? So it's important to understand what's going on so that you know how to adjust what you're doing as you're creating these improvements. So I hope that helps. If you want to understand the steps that we like to see people do to wipe out the bacteria in the stomach or the small intestine, you can jump over right now and check out our video on how to wipe out bad bacteria in the stomach. I can't wait to hear about your results.